Meta numbers are crossing the wires right now. Dan, what do you have?
Yeah, we have a beat on the top and bottom line. Revenue came in at $28.6 billion. That was versus estimates of $27.6 billion. EPS came in higher, $2.20 versus $2.01. Let's look at the advertising revenue. Obviously, that's the bulk of Meta's revenue, $28.1 billion versus estimates of $26.7 billion. Family of apps revenue was at $28.3 billion versus $26.8 billion. And then operating losses for Reality Labs, that came in at 3.99, I believe, versus 3.8 billion expected. They also came in higher for revenue in guidance in Q2. They're expecting between 29.5 to 32 billion in revenue. That's versus 29.4 billion expected. They did, however, say that they're expecting operating losses for Reality Labs to continue to increase moving forward. So they're plowing money into that. And I think the big deal here is that a beat is a beat for Meta at this point. You could see there, obviously, the share price surging higher here, 9% up. For them, this is just good news after quarter after quarter of bad news.
Yeah, and the magic word is it's AI. And Mark Zuckerberg, in the release, our AI work is driving good results across our apps and business. We're also becoming more efficient so we can build better products faster and put ourselves in a stronger position to deliver our long-term vision. Just about every tech company puts AI in their first sentence or two, and Meta no exception, but a solid report given the atmosphere, given the macro, kind of better than expected as we've seen for most of this quarter.
Yeah, it certainly was a very strong report. And like Dan was just saying, when you talk about that revenue growth, Meta really turning around some of the momentum that we have seen, regaining their momentum after 3 quarters in a row of declining sales there. So that was a huge number here for Meta in its most recent quarter. I think a lot of the gains that we're seeing in after hours trading is because of the guidance that we're getting in its 2Q revenue outlook. That came in better than expected. Also some updates when we talk about Meta, the year of efficiency. That's something that Mark Zuckerberg laid out in the last earnings call. The company saying that it has largely completed its job cuts that were announced last year back in 2022. So again,
was that largely completed?
Largely completed.
Is that
so
leaving the door open?
A little bit more, leaving the door open, but they have completed. They're saying the majority of those job cuts that were announced in 2022. But again, the Reality Labs, I think that's something that you need to keep an eye on there, just in terms of the losses that Meta is seeing within that division and really what that looks like when we talk about the expectation for the growing operating losses, I should say, in terms of what that could potentially increase on a year-over-year basis, Dan.
Yeah, I think one of the things to look at is probably the Reuters report that had come out yesterday, I believe, basically diving deep into Meta and their AI capabilities or lack thereof when it comes to generative AI. Meta has some of the best AI engineers in the world. I mean, that's, it's what powers a lot of the technology behind Facebook, Instagram, the recommendation engines, things like that. And they've boosted that to better compete with the likes of TikTok. But as far as the generative AI aspect of things, they seem to be further behind than you would expect a huge company like this. It looked like there was some folly as far as the types of chips they were using. This is according to that Reuters report, again, basically saying they weren't using GPUs. Now they're using GPUs. They're developing their own chips down the line. But look, after a series of blunders as far as their reporting goes, and then these, layoffs, I think it was 21,000 employees total that they had laid off. This seems to be at least some kind of good news for Meta.
And for investors, repurchased $9.22 billion of Class A common stock in the first quarter. Dan Howley, good to see you, brother. Great job. Thank you so much.